much-loved show, Battlebots is another big show that many people love. But the question then lingered was, how would some of these machines look if they'd been built in the early 2000s? So that's what's happened. 16 teams from Battlebots have rebuilt the machines in a more retro style, weighing at most 80 kilos, and are about to throw them into the warzone for a chaotic showdown. So let's head to the Battleboard and check out the lineup. Which of these 16 modern-day Battlebot designs in retro form is the ultimate? Is it Duck with the front lifting face? Well, let's see as they take on the spinning undercutter blade of Hijinks, Monsoon with a spinning blade against the circular saws of Sawblaze, the hammer and lifting scoop of Blacksmith taking on the swinging hammer blade of Beta, Hydra and the CO2 flipper against Riptide with their spinning flywheels, Huge with their own spinning blade against the two spinning flywheel weapons of Rotator, unique design as well, Blacksmith with their spinning flywheel against the spinning drum of Minotaur, the spinning bar of Tombstone taking on the huge spinning bar of Deep Six, and then the lifting forked spikes of Gruff taking on the two spinning bars of Double Dutch. Let chaos commence! Duck Lifter. A very straightforward box design with a front lifting duck bill with very impressive driving speed. The invertible design also makes flipping it up and over seemingly pointless as it will still drive on, but the exposed fields are going to prove to be an issue, as are the vulnerable sides. Hijinks! Spinner! Definitely one of the widest machines we've ever had on Robot Wars, and with an interesting weapon setup too. A big undercutter spinning bar that spins very fast and can be rather headache-inducing if taken head-on, but the exposed wheels might just prove to be their downfall.
Roboteers, stand by.
Duck with the front-lifting face plate, and Hijinks, the wide machine with the undercutter spinning bar. Our first fight for the Retro Wars competition.
2, 1. Activate.
Which of these retro-designed Battlebots competitors will be the ultimate? And Duck almost flipped themselves over. But their front can take the blade of Hijinks. Hijinks can whack them. How do they fling them? Well, you can fling them away. But Duck can drive Hijinks and drive them towards the pit of oblivion, and down they go!
Cease.
They're not coming out of that. They can spin their blade as much as they want, but it's Duck who gets the victory, and a very convincing win at that, despite the little trouble. But they go through, and Hijinks sadly will be going home earlier than expected. That's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes on Robot Wars. Hijinks, they're out. Duck, they go through. Next up, Monsoon and Sawblaze. Monsoon. Spinner. Built by the Alien team, but with many differences. The first being that the machine can run both ways up, and the second being that the weapon is installed on a mount that means even if it gets flipped, the weapon will still remain at the same place while allowing the wheels to touch the floor. Speaking of, they are quite exposed, which I think is going to become a theme in this competition. Sawblaze! Spinner! A very big wedge with a slot down the middle for the swinging arm to come in and drop the spinning saws down. The arm can also help self-right, and has two small caster wheels that help the machine not tip backwards as the weapon is a bit big and heavy. However, while the arm can help self-right, it is actually quite slow.
Roboteers, stand by.
Monsoon with the spinning blade, and Sawblaze with the front wedge and the swinging arm with the circular saws.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
Who will come out on top in this spinning battle? Well, a little bit of damage done I think, to the front wedge. Oh, and Monsoon almost went up and over. They're bouncing off the front wedge of Sawblaze, though, who brings their arm down, and good grief, is that slow. That is very slow. The wedge, however, is effective as it's coming down, and now the saws can come into play to try and do some damage to Monsoon. No real damage, and Monsoon just watches Sawblaze spin in a circle. And are now being pressurized again by Sawblaze, who goes to fire that weapon, but it misfires this time around. And Monsoon's weapon, well, their weapon spins and just has to collide. Sawblaze spinning in a circle again, and now coming in on the attack on Monsoon. Oh, they're both in the pit! They're both in the pit! And who fell first? I'm not sure who fell first there. And hang on, I'm being relayed a message here from the judges. And they are requesting a rematch between these two for this fight.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
Here we go again. Quite a fair few rematches in this series. And Sawblaze now coming back on the attack on Monsoon. The weapons collide. So what type of damage will that cause, I wonder? Well, that'll cause problems for Monsoon up onto their side. And Sawblaze coming in to put them back. But look at this here from the charge as it throws Monsoon onto their side. And they can't right themselves from there. They're back now, almost gyrating out of control. Trying to do some damage to Sawblaze, who are now getting stuck on the spike. And now a good attack, and it sent Sawblaze up and over. But Sawblaze can right themselves. Look at this. Here's the attack, and it flings Sawblaze up into the air. But they bring their arm down and use it brilliantly to self-right. There's a little piece on the floor there. I don't know what that is. But right now, Sawblaze seems in trouble, and I think there's a piece of arm missing. Is there? I think there is. Sawblaze stuck in the CPZ, just spinning around, doing absolutely nothing, pushing Monsoon onto the floor, while Monsoon's weapon keeps colliding with the wedge, hoping to do some sort of damage. Is Sawblaze okay, I wonder? That's a piece of the arm! That is a piece of Sawblaze's arm that's gone! And now, Sawblaze pushes Monsoon onto the spike, who is now stuck on their side and have now fallen up and over. And now Monsoon being buffeted once again by the spike. Is Monsoon trying to gyro themselves back on right ways up, I wonder? Probably. Get away from the spike. That might be a good idea. Sawblaze still trying to come out. Still trying to bring their weapon into play. I think. I'm honestly not sure at this point, but their drive is impressive, and I have to say, it's a very strong drive as it's pushed Monsoon onto the wall, and now they can bring their circular saws into play. And Monsoon, oh, and a good clip there, and it throws Sawblaze up and over, but Sawblaze rights themselves. They can self-right, and what can Monsoon really do here? I think they've done a bit of extra damage here to Sawblaze. There's a little bit of green on the floor. I think that's part of the roller on Sawblaze. How effective is that going to be? Is it just superficial? We'll have to wait and see. But meanwhile, Sawblaze dropping their weapon down on Monsoon. But is it doing any damage, I wonder? I don't think it is. I don't think it's as damaging as it's made out to believe! And the rest of the arm's gone! So now the Blaze just hangs. Okay, so apparently Saw Blaze has built some sort of FU physics mechanic in to keep the blade going. Okay. And I think Monsoon's confused. I'm just going to try and rectify that. As they're ripping in, and now right ways up. And can Monsoon take advantage? And I've done a little bit more damage. I think that bit was superficial. What's that on the floor? Is that superficial or would that be crucial? I don't know. But if this goes to the judges, Saw Blaze has lost an eye. Well, I was about to say, if this goes to the judges, they'll be marking on star control, damage, and aggression. And while Saw Blaze is the one being more aggressive than Monsoon, the damage is done by Monsoon to Saw Blaze. Monsoon, meanwhile, I'm not convinced in their drive. I'm really not. I think their drive is causing them quite a fair bit of problems because they are bouncing a little bit. They don't seem to have the greatest of control, unlike Saw Blaze. I think there's a bit of problem for the drive of Saw Blaze, and we're down to the last 10 seconds of this fight. So this will be going to the judges. Who will be going through on this? It will be close. And time is called. It goes to the judges. Whew. Who are we winning this one, I wonder? Well, let's see if we can't look at some keys. There, Saw Blaze throwing Monsoon onto their side. And honestly, they could have just left them there. But they came back to do some more damage that could go against them. This will definitely go against Saw Blaze, going towards Monsoon, flipped up into the air, but they self-right. But then, Saw Blaze came back on the attack and lost a part of the arm. That's where that arm came from. It came from that attack. Saw Blaze pushing Monsoon against the wall and dropping their Saw Blade down and causing them to go up and over. And that's a theme here. Saw Blaze, the more aggressive. Much more aggressive than Monsoon, as they push him against the wall and bring their blade down. But while they were aggressive, Monsoon, the more damaging, flicking Saw Blaze into the air, they right themselves. Off comes the rest of their arm, and then their blades decide to somehow defy physics. I think there's a rule against that. Monsoon then comes righted and decides to try and take out those blades, does some extra damage, and I think knocks off an eye. They have knocked off an eye, actually. This is a very close battle, and I'm not convinced of who will get the victory. It's very close, and it could be controversial. The judges have gone 2-1 for Monsoon. Saw Blaze crashes out. Commiserations to them. Next up, Blacksmith and Beta. Blacksmith. Flipper Axe Bot. Almost similar in design to the version they entered with in the last wars built in the early 2000s. The front wedge adds for great pushing power, which is aided by the front lifting scoop, and the big hammer drops down very fast and can also help them self-right if overturned. But the team has stated that they don't fully reckon the scoop is all that effective. Beta Axe Bot. Built out of aluminium and steel with polycarbonate panels, as like with the original Beta, as well as John Reed's other two machines, Kilohertz and Terahertz, though this machine much bigger than them all. The big hammer can also serve as a Shrimek if ever overturned, and the low wedges add for pushing power. But they'll need to be careful if they come across spinners, because the polycarbonate panels help them see exactly where their most vital electrical components are located.
Robot ears, stand by.
Blacksmith with the hammer and the lifting scoop and pushing power, and Beta, the four-wheel drive machine with the CO2 powered double swinging hammer that seems to have quite a fair bit of power to it.
3, 2, 1, activate.
On paper, the pushing power from Blacksmith should give them the advantage, And it's helping them here, while Beta's dropping their hammer down, and Blacksmith dropping their own weapon as well, but not as much and not as frequently as Beta. And Beta being lifted by the spikes and stuck on the wall. And is everything okay between these two? Are they? I think they might be stuck together here. And Blacksmith, I think they are stuck together because Blacksmith tried to push Beta down the pit. They weren't falling. I think the two are stuck together. So, well, Blacksmith's just going to hover over the flames for Beta and then themselves. I don't know why. But Beta, the only one really using their hammer. Blacksmith, however, drops their weapon in a few times and now is free. And free to slam their hammer down again, freely this time. So, Blacksmith will have to avoid that. Whatever that was. Meanwhile, pushing Beta away and pushing him again, this time at the sides and into the arena wall. And this is what I thought would happen. Blacksmith, with their pushing power, will have serious advantages over Beta. The pushing power alone gives Blacksmith great ground clearance, and it causes problems for Beta because they can't out-push Blacksmith, and Blacksmith nearly had Beta down the pit and again, but they'll still keep dropping their hammer. Oh, and now the hammer's gone through the armor, and it's causing issues for Beta. They can't get off, and now they're just flinging each other around here. Look at this. The hammer goes through Blacksmith's armor, and they can't free themselves. They're jumping around like firecrackers or jumping jacks or whatever. Blacksmith trying to free themselves from Beta's weapon, their hold. I think Beta's trying to do the same thing. They're just flipping each other over. That's all that's happening. Now Blacksmith free. And Blacksmith needs to try and recover going towards the pit. Not a good idea, Blacksmith. Unless, of course, you do plan on pushing Beta down there! And down they go! That's the end of Beta! Into the pit! And that's Blacksmith going through to round 2. After quite a major scare. That could have ended poorly for Blacksmith. But the luck was on their side, and they're the ones going through. Beta's the one going home early. Commiserations to John Reed and his team. Again, Blacksmith feeling pretty lucky with that as Beta crashes out. Blacksmith goes through. Next up, Hydra and Riptide. Hydra! Flipper! Not much difference between this and its actual version, besides their weight, of course. The CO2 Flipper seems actually just as powerful as the original, and the drive seems almost better, maybe? Subject for debate. But the limited gas supply for the Flipper means that they'll need to time their flips if they want to have a shot at winning this competition. Riptide! Spinner! The main weapons are the two spinning flywheels at the front with the four-wheel drive, and is one of the few machines to enter our warzone with a roll cage. Not many do that. The roll cage is designed to help roll the machine back over onto its wheels when flipped over, which couldn't be hard for anyone to do as their sides are very vulnerable.
Roboteers, stand by.
Hydra, with their CO2 Flipper and their front wedge. And Riptide, with their two small spinning flywheels and their two roll cage bars.
3, 2, 1, activate.
Perfect machine for those roll bars to counter, really, because that flipper of Hydra will send them up and over and they will roll back, but not if it's nudged over like it was just then. And suddenly, the roll bars have not done Riptide the world of good and Hydra to take advantage and push them down the pit, and very quick as well. A very quick fight. And Hydra didn't really need to exude much energy, really. One flip, one topple, and one pit later, and they're through to round 2. All over in a trice, really. One flip, one push, one pit later. Riptide's out, Hydra's through. Next up, Huge and Rotator. Huge Spinner. Honestly, I don't really know what I thought they were going to end with, to be perfectly honest with you. A big spinning bar between the main body of the robot, rolling on 2 ginormous wheels with a balancing beam to help keep the machine stable as it runs. The wheels are a weak point as they are very exposed, but when you stop and look at what they are attached to, I think those big exposed wheels are the least of their problems. Rotator. Spinner. A rather simple diamond-shaped build with 2 spinning flywheels, one at the top at the rear and another at the front attached to the bottom, serving as an undercutter. And with the machine being in vertical, even if they do get flipped, that doesn't really affect the weaponry, as all that would happen would be the swap places. But the exposed wheels may prove to be a cause for concern for the team.
Roboteers, stand by.
Huge! With the gigantic wheels and the vertical spinning bar between the machine, and Rotator, the diamond-shaped machine with its 2 big flywheels, one at the back on the top and one at the bottom in the front.
2, 1, activate.
Now, how is this going to work exactly? Because the exposed wheels on Huge cause a problem for them, and Rotator can deal with them, but that spinning bar can strike the top of Rotator, and Huge can easily revert back to being right way up. Meanwhile, I think Rotator's trying to spin in the spot to cause whatever problems they can, while Huge just keeps on coming in. And I'm not sure if that bar is being as effective as the 2 flywheels on Rotator, which is flinging Huge away. I don't think any real damage has been done. There's a little panel there. I think that's off of Rotator. That's probably the only bit of damage that's been done. But Huge also being very aggressive, constantly coming back in on Rotator, who suddenly, for a moment there, seemed to have ground to a halt. And now, Huge seems to be able to come in for an advantage, and I think now there is a problem with Rotator. I don't think one of the wheels is working properly. I think they might be locked up, and thrown through the air goes Rotator. And I'll be honest, that one I definitely didn't expect to see from Huge, as they rip off a top panel of Rotator's armor. And Rotator in major trouble. They are now! Look at that! Off comes a wheel! A wheel comes off of Rotator from this attack! And if their drive wasn't compromised before, it certainly is now. And I think Huge will definitely be going through to round 2. Poor Rotator. That is a shame for them. Well, not much you can really do now, Rotator, I don't think. And Rotator... Oh! Huge is gone! What happened there? Look at this! The weapons! Collision! And Huge somehow ends up out the arena! Courtesy of Rotator! And I think based off that, just... Rotator will we'll just be going through as Huge is spinning around. Well, I think it's safe to say that Huge will be going home. They're at the arena, there's nothing Huge can really do. And there they go, goodbye. That's gonna be the funniest thing I've ever seen in Robot Wars. That was fantastic. Next up, Black Dragon and Minotaur. Black Dragon. Spinner. front spinning blade combined with a front plow wedge should prove to be an effective combination. And as for Endgame, who are Series 3 runners-up, the blade is deadly and the exposed wheels help the machine drive upside down, but the exposed wheels are much more of a target when up and over, and there's a much higher ground clearance when they are as well. On an unrelated note, I dig the artwork on the machine. Minotaur Spinner. Haven't had the greatest of runs this series. Could this competition help them save face? The spinning drum is an iconic weapon for Minotaur, and the armor is made from 3mm stainless steel. But the wheels, like with the original, are exposed, and there's a bit of a ground clearance.
Robot ears, stand by.
Black Dragon with the spinning blade in the front plow wedge. And Minotaur, former grand finalists of Robot Wars Series 1 with the drum spinner, hoping to try and save some face.
3, 2, 1, activate.
Will they be able to do that in this competition, I wonder? Already giving chasers Black Dragon. Wow, they were underneath Black Dragon and have now thrown Black Dragon up and over. And Black Dragon, as I said, has a high ground clearance when up and over. And Minotaur taking advantage of Black Dragon's predicament. Now Black Dragon righted. And they're playing way too close to the pit. And Black Dragon, Minotaur into the pit! And that is such a shame! Minotaur on top of this fight! And now one poor driving error sees them down and out. That is such a shame. Black Dragon will be going through to round 2. And Minotaur... This has not been their series, has it, really? Poor Minotaur, they've had a horrible run this series. Hope to see them back for the next wars and do better. Next up, Tombstone and Deep Six. Tombstone Spinner. Well, maybe this competition will be what helps them prove that they have what it takes. The front spinning bar will help send anyone on the receiving end to an early grave, that's for sure. But then again, maybe not, as the wheels are quite exposed, as is the housing they're hooked up to house the motor that turned them, which is also quite vulnerable. Deep Six Spinner. The team has serious combat experience as they not only fought on Battlebots with Deep Six, but also here on Robot Wars with Big Spinner from the first series and Dodge Me from both the last wars and this one. I mean, there's not really much else to say about this machine, as it's effectively the same as Dodge Me in terms of strengths and weaknesses. Strong weapon, but exposed wheels.
Robot ears, stand by.
Tombstone with the spinning bar and the two-wheel drive box bot. And Deep Six with their own two-wheel drive box system with a huge spinning bar spinning vertically.
3, 2, 1, activate.
Tombstone's weapon spins horizontally, and Tombstone gets the first attack in, and another one. And now Deep Six going up and over, but self-rights and trying to come in again, but the weapon of Tombstone not letting them. There's something on the floor, and Deep Six nearly in that bit of oblivion there. And now Tombstone, Tombstone's in the pit! Oh, that's such a shame, and now Deep Six joins them. Oh, what a shame. Oh dear. Poor Tombstone. Well, at least they didn't take serious damage, I guess you could say. But they're out. Next up, Gruff and Double Dutch. Gruff Lifter. Running a panic attack build, I see. Well, should prove helpful, as should the weapon. A forked lifting arm that swings right the way back and can also help the machine right itself if turned over. 6-wheel drive and a seriously effective looking weapon. However, the wheels are exposed. Why did you not build the body slightly higher to cover them? Double Dutch Spinner. Right, so how on earth do I describe this? a four-wheel drive invertible box armed with two spinning bars on both the top and bottom of the machine. Rather peculiar. The drive is also fairly quick, so have fun running away from them, but the exposed wheels may prove to be their downfall, and not 100% sure about their overall pushing power.
Robot ears, stand by.
Gruff, with the lifting forked arm and the six-wheel drive. Almost like Panic Attack, actually. And Double Dutch, the box design with two spinning bars, one on the top and one on the bottom.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
Again, don't really know how else to describe Double Dutch other than easily flipped over by Gruff, which they just were. And Gruff can easily get underneath Double Dutch, who's reversed quickly into the corner. Coming back in to get those bars into play. And those bars, they're quite formidable, it has to be said. Well, not unless you're... Whoa! Nearly had Double Dutch out of the arena there, Gruff. And actually, Gruff's lost one of the forks on their lifting arm. It's not on, and I think they just lost their other one. So now their weapon is useless. It's not really armed, but Gruff has the better pushing power and can push Double Dutch towards the pit and watch them drive into it. And that's the end of Double Dutch. Down they go. And one final note for good measure. Double Dutch, a good time. Oh no, that fork is still there. Huh, I thought it came off. Then what's that on the floor then? Must be another one. But Double Dutch in the bit and out. And it's Gruff going through. And you know, looking back at it, despite the damage Double Dutch did, I think Gruff were on top the whole fight. They were controlling Double Dutch across the floor, and that's why Gruff have gone through. And this is how the quarterfinals look. Gruff will be taking on the spinning bar of Deep Six. Rotator will be taking on Black Dragon. Blacksmith, we're hoping to hammer out Hydra, but first, it's Duck and Monsoon.
Robot ears, stand by.
Duck with the lifting faced bill and the pushing power, and Monsoon with the spinning blade. Controversially here, via the judge's decision after their fight with Saw Blaze.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
Some people thought it should have been Saw Blaze here, but the judges ruled for Monsoon on damage. And Monsoon, I think that might be a problem, and Duck's taking advantage. I think there's an issue with Monsoon's drive. It doesn't seem as fluid as it did earlier. I'm wondering if they're still suffering from problems in their fight with Saw Blaze. And Duck reversing it knocks off some of the spikes, which I don't think is going to overly affect them, but Duck still pushing away at Monsoon, and Monsoon down the pit! They've driven into the pit as well! Oh, I love when people machines do that. A celebratory raise of the face. Monsoon, too close over, and drives into the pit, and that's the end of that. Monsoon are out, and it's Duck through to the Retro Wars semi-finals. Still don't fully know why Monsoon decided to drive into the pit, but they did. Duck goes through, and next up, Blacksmith and Hydra.
Robot ears, stand by.
Blacksmith with the hammer and the lifting scoop, which we haven't seen so far, and Hydra with the front wedge and their CO2 powered flipper.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
Case of who can get underneath the opponent first, and Blacksmith very quickly throwing Hydra down the pit! Wow, that was over extremely fast, probably the fastest we've had on Robot Wars! Quickly down the pit, not wasting any time, out goes Hydra, Blacksmith goes through with Duck to the semi-finals. There's not much else I can say! I mean, that fight was over in like 5-6 seconds! Hydra in the pit, Blacksmith through very quickly, next up Rotator and Black Dragon.
Roboteers, stand by.
Rotator very lucky to be here after their fight with Huge and their 2 spinning flywheels. Arguably, the same with Black Dragon, their fight with Minotaur. Their little spinning blade and their front plow wedge.
3, 2, 1, activate.
Who shall emerge victorious in this fight? Well, Black Dragon doesn't seem afraid of those 2 flywheels of Rotator, who's trying to get away and come in for an attack. But Black Dragon goes underneath the underbelly of Rotator, and that can cause problems. And Rotator is in trouble here, and our wheels come off as well, and they're in the pit. And now Black Dragon follows suit into the pit. They go with them. You're not gonna ramp off Rotator out your pit. You're stuck in there. You drove in there. That's your stupid fault. But Rotator, they fell first. They're in the pit. They're immobilized. They are out. And it's Black Dragon going through to the Retro Wars semi-finals. And very convincingly too, I might add. Well done to Black Dragon as they go through. Commiserations to Rotator as they crash out. Next up, Deep Six and Gruff.
Roboteers, stand by.
Deep Six with the big spinning bar. And Gruff with the forked lifting arm. And have they repaired that arm, I wonder, off the double
3,
dutch?
2, 1, activate.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. There goes the spinning arm as it already crashes down on Gruff. And it's stopped now and starting up again. And now Deep Six pings away and Gruff comes in on the charge. And Deep Six is in trouble as Gruff tries lifting them up. And Deep Six throwing themselves over. And Gruff can retaliate with that. And Deep Six nearly had themselves thrown out the arena there. That was so close. And just back two. Look at this. They almost went out the arena. If that blade had kept on spinning, they would be out the arena. Meanwhile, Gruff, with their weapon between the weapon of Deep Six. Deep Six stuck on the wall, trying to escape, and are in trouble. And Gruff now pushing Deep Six towards the arena wall, and are holding. And Deep Six, Gruff getting himself stuck on the wall. That's intelligent. And now Deep Six, can they try and make some form of comeback? I am not too sure. They can't out-push Gruff. And up and over, and down the pit goes Deep Six. And Gruff joins and ends up in the pit as well. And oh! They've lifted themselves. Well, that's a first for Robo Wars, I think. Look at this. They left out Deep Six, and they even get themselves out of the pit as well. I don't think we've seen something like that before. And Deep Six are now back in the pit. And can Gruff get them back out again? Well, they can get themselves in the pit. We're familiar with that bit, but can they get both them and Deep Six out of the pit? They've gotten themselves out, but I don't think they'll be getting Deep Six out. Not this time round. Not with how they're positioned. There's nowhere for Gruff to really get a hold. No real purchase for the Fox. Their entire body is in the pit. They are gone. They're deeper down. Gruff comes in again. You can try, but Deep Six are out. Caesar's called. And it's Gruff going through to the Retro Wars semi-finals. And quite dominantly, too, I might add. Gruff, I don't really think had much trouble against Deep Six. They were pushing them around the whole time. Deep Six, on the other hand, yeah, they had issues with their blade. Have to fix it for next time, but they're out. Gruff goes through, and this is how the semi-finals looks. Gruff and the lifting arm will be taking on the spinning blade of Black Dragon later, but first, the lifting face of Duck and their pushing power against the swinging hammer of Blacksmith.
Robot ears, stand by.
Duck with the front lifting face and very good pushing power, and Blacksmith with their own pushing power along with their lifting scoop and their top powered hammer.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
Stakes are getting higher, and Duck's already thrown Blacksmith up and over. Blacksmith, however, they self-right and are now being bullied here by Duck, pushing them over towards the spikes. And now Blacksmith getting underneath Duck and putting them up on the wall, and are swinging their hammer and are throwing themselves over. Look, quickly self-right. That could have ended poorly though. Look at this, up and over with a hammer and righting themselves as well. And had Duck been at a different angle, they would be in major trouble. Speaking of trouble, Blacksmith in trouble. And just notice there, the scoop going up. The front scoop. That's the first time we've actually seen that weapon utilized. Not very often. Actually, we haven't seen it at all get utilized. Blacksmith now swinging down. Oh, I think they've got their weapon jammed. Brilliant. They've got their weapon jammed between the lifting face and the wheel of Duck. Now, how are they going to separate? I think that's what Duck's trying to do, and I think Blacksmith's trying to do the same thing. Now they're separate, and Duck nearly had Blacksmith in the pit, and Blacksmith has them in the pit now. In the pit goes Duck, and they're falling in two. Duck's in the pit and out. Blacksmith going through. You can stop hammering away now. You're the winner of this fight. You're going through to the Retro Wars Grand Final. Duck, meanwhile, they've done brilliantly getting here, but this is as far as they go, unfortunately. Such a shame. They did fantastically getting here, but it's Blacksmith coming out on top, reaching the Grand Finals. Next up, Black Dragon and Gruff.
Robot ears, stand by.
Black Dragon with the spinning blade and the front plow wedge. And Gruff with the forked lifting arm and very strong drive.
3, 2, 1.
Might actually give Black Dragon a run for their money, because Black Dragon only 2-wheel drive, Gruff 6-wheel. It gives them a better drive. But Black Dragon around the side of Gruff and trying to do damage to the sides, and are now trying to see if they can tear apart their weapon. Don't think they're doing that. They've just gone back to striking the sides and are now gone up the top of Gruff. That is bad. You don't want to do that. And we're on the verge of going up and over there. And speaking of, Gruff throwing themselves up and over, giving Black Dragon the perfect chance to strike at the underbelly. This is a very good battle, and now Black Dragon thrown up and over by Gruff, and that's going to be the end of the... No, Gruff! They had it! Look at this! They throw over Black Dragon, they go up and over, and Gruff gives them a good push, but they find a weapon again right in them, just as they've driven into the pit! Well, that was absolutely poor driving there. I don't know what you were thinking. You should have just kept on the push and stopped and they would have fallen. That's what you should have done. Because you didn't, you're out. The Gruff is out and it's the Black Dragon going through. Poor life choices on Gruff's end, I think, was what happened there. But this is the Retro Wars final showdown. Blacksmith and Black Dragon. Who will become our Retro Wars reigning champion?
Roboteers, stand by.
Here we go, the Retro Wars final showdown. Blacksmith, the strong pushing power, the lifting scoop, and the swinging hammer. And Black Dragon, the spinning blade and their front plow wedge.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
Their pushing power hasn't really been as good as others, although they're definitely out pushing Blacksmith and managing to get underneath them to get that blade into play, to rip and tear into the electronics, but Blacksmith will counter, lifting them with their own scoop, and now Black Dragon into the pit! And you just swing the hammer down on them. Oh, look at this, they reversed and drove over the pit, and Blacksmith took advantage and pushed them down and swung the hammer down to good measure. Black Dragon, a strong run, but it comes to an end here in the pit. Blacksmith standing tall as our Retro Wars reigning champions. And what a great run for them it has been here. A shame for Black Dragon, but they did do very well making it to the final showdown. Well done to Blacksmith as they take home the title of Retro Wars champion. Here's hoping they manage to have the same level of success in the next wars. But until then, take care, and I'll see you next time. Farewell.